Sarah Ray Vargas made a video that she had taken on a position of abstinence in her life, and that her partner also, they are both Christian. Personally, don't practice any religion, but I support people that do, and I love people that do. And I just want to preface this by saying that I love Sarah Ray Vargas, that I completely support her decision on the journey that she's taken, just so that the video cannot be taken out of context whatsoever. I completely support her. For me personally, abstinence teaching was very harmful. I don't want to say this in a way that will offend people that follow abstinence teaching and want to wait and feel like that is the right path for them to go. I believe there are many different paths in life for many different people, and one thing that works for one person won't necessarily work for the other. So for me, this particular teaching was not great. So I will elaborate a bit on that. I was raised in the deep south. I'm from Tennessee, and my father was a Baptist minister. Very strict Christian father, and my entire family was Christian. And you know, the South is Christian. You love cornbread and pinto beans and Jesus. You know, that's the South. Green beans, bacon, Jesus. It's all in there. It's like in the handbook. You gotta love it all. But I also went to a Christian school 5 days a week. And I went to church every Sunday. And that upbringing, no surprise, is very abstinence based. I don't think there's anything necessarily inherently wrong with feeling like that you are a gift to give someone. That is fine. But I feel like there's something wrong with the insinuation that it's a gift you can only give once. Every time you give it, whether you're in a relationship, a marital relationship, a cohabitation relationship, every time you give your body to someone, every time you surrender at that vulnerability, it is always a gift. I think that leads to a lot of negative things in relationships, because people don't understand that every time you give your body, it is a gift. Your gift doesn't lose its value just because it's been given. It's like when you open up a present, it didn't only have value when I opened it. It still has value even though it's on the shelf. Now, for some people, they may take that teaching and it doesn't have the same effect on them as it did on me, but it made me view sex as a very negative, scary, and bad thing. I was adhering to the rules of abstinence, and that private Christian school, there were a lot of people that were not adhering to the rules of abstinence. This one time, I had to get in, there's a closet that had like paper towels. It was like a cleaning closet, and there were acts going on in that closet when I opened the door, and I was like, my reaction was to just get the paper towels that were beyond these people, get the paper towels, get them, and shut the door and just let them carry on, because they didn't really look up for breath or air. There was sex going on in the school. There was plenty of it. A lot of kids were not listening to this abstinence teaching, but it sunk into me. It scared the life out of me. And my dad is scary. If you watched my previous video about when I met my other half, not the one I'm with now, but my first ever relationship and marriage, and why I'm over here in England. He was from England, and I was in America, and we met on the internet, and I went back and forth, and I remember getting on the plane to go to England to go see my boyfriend at the time and to go to his graduation. My dad said, "You better come back the way you went." And I knew what he meant, and I had no intention of not coming back the way I went. Now, my boyfriend at the time, he was just a virgin because he was shy and very sensitive and a cute little English boy, you know, and so he was shy and sensitive and, you know, just not a player, and so he was still a virgin as well. And he wanted to do a few sexual things. He was happy to wait for me, like he knew that that was a stipulation. I told him from the start that that's a stipulation of me being in a relationship because I am Christian and these are my values. The conditioning had worked so well on me that I felt sick at the thought of doing anything sexual. And that's not what you should feel. Like, it should feel exciting and intimate. It should feel better than it did, and I was just so terrified and scared of genitalia. I'd never had a biology lesson. I had never had sex education. I had no idea how any of it worked. I didn't know what any of it looked like, and I was scared to death, and I felt sick. I felt sick. He wanted me to like touch him, and I was like, I didn't really want to. And that had to make him feel bad, like I didn't fancy him or something. That had to make him feel uncomfortable and unhappy and not sexually desirable, and like he was trying to force me to do something, and so he kind of backed off. So did I, because I was the one that was scared of the sex in the first place. We just made out and things like that, and then we got married. So this abstinence teaching and preaching, you know, it had told me I needed to keep this special thing until I got married. And then I got married, and everybody's on your wedding night, you gonna have sex today, which I found really creepy. Like, like the adults being like, hey, you're gonna have sex. I was like, yeah, yes. Everything perfect. I was Christian, I was perfect, I had done everything right, and I was fully dedicated to the Christian lifestyle and mentality. I had no idea how sex was supposed to happen. It's like I had no idea what was going on, and that's not the way that someone should go into sex. They shouldn't go into sex going, I have no idea what your body parts do, I have no idea what my body parts do. My parents were very cool. They would have answered my questions. I remember one time asking my parents, what an orgasm was, and it was so uncomfortable. So I asked my mom, like, what is an orgasm? And I was asking my mom, but they were sat on the bed, and my dad was there as well. And my mom was like, well, it's when two people are in love and enjoying each other's company, and it reaches a pinnacle. She didn't say climax, but it was like they reach a pleasurable outcome or something. And I had no idea I didn't understand. I didn't know what that was supposed to mean, and I just pretended I did. And then from then on, I was like, I'm not gonna ask them anything about sex because it was so awkward. So we get to the wedding night, and we get in bed. I'm so terrified that everything is tightened and clenched, and I can't. He tries, and he can't do anything. Everything is too, I'm like on lockdown. He can't. And if he tries just a little bit, it hurts. So he's like, I'm not going to hurt you, so we can wait till another time till you're more comfortable with this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that would probably be better, you know. And the thing is, I was so relieved. It wasn't like I was like so excited to jump his bones. Oh my God, I'm finally gonna have sex. It was like, oh, it's scary. If a mouse goes to eat a piece of cheese, and every time it does, it gets electrocuted, after a while, the mouse will just starve to death because it doesn't want to get electrocuted. So even though I knew that, okay, now sex is okay, it doesn't just happen like that, like just like a switch, and just like all of a sudden from one day to the next, sex is bad, okay, sex is good, sex is a thing you can have. Your brain is conditioned, it's wired that way, and you're going, oh my God, but I'm not supposed to have this, this is wrong, I can't have it, oh my God. And you don't know how to turn off that part of you that's telling you that it's bad and that you shouldn't have it. And that you're bad, you're naughty, you're a bad girl, you're not a good Christian, you know. You know mentally, oh, okay, it's supposed to be fine, but emotionally, you're still like, but it doesn't feel fine. My ex-husband was the most wonderfully patient person on the planet. I'm very blessed in that we're really good friends, and still, you know, we were and still are. But other people may not have someone that's so understanding. I had a very understanding husband at the time, and we had a very good relationship. And we went on to New York. We had our honeymoon. They lost our luggage in LaGuardia. It was a nightmare. But we didn't want to have sex in any of those in the hotels that we stayed there because we were doing it all on the cheap for my visa, so we didn't want to have sex yet. So that was fine. That put off the pressure a bit. And then we moved in with his parents whilst we looked to buy a house and set up our lives in England. Whilst we did that, we kind of agreed we didn't really want to have sex at in his parents' house. So, you know, that kind of delayed it even further. We still did things and made out and whatever, but we were like, it would be a bit uncomfortable to be caught having sex in your parents' house and it's under their roof and it feels a bit disrespectful. And so we had agreed then, you know, to not have sex as well. So this is like, now we're married, we're living together, months and months and months are going by and we're not having sex with each other. So I was abstinent all of the time until I was 19. Then I get married and I'm still being abstinent. So then we finally roll on a year after we've been living in England. We have a house bought, the house is set up, the house is nice, we both settled into jobs. We now have everything as we wanted, the bedroom is complete. And there we are. We just continue to make out and things like that because he consents, I'm uncomfortable with it. And he's not an aggressive person. He's not one of these guys that's gonna push me. And he's getting more insecure that I don't really want him, that I'm not desiring of him, so I'm not going after him or like making any moves. And then we're getting very comfortable and complacent in a relationship that is sexless. It's not even being attempted. And people will find this super weird. I mean, my family found it super weird. Were we not attracted to each other? I mean, we were, as far as I know. I'll never know 100% because it didn't have the right atmosphere in which to grow. I'll never really know how attracted we were to each other and how attracted we could have been to each other because you know, we'd already been together. By the time we'd been married a year, we'd been together since I was 16 and I was 20, so that was 4 years. Like, we had already been together for 4 years. At that point, as everything must do, things start to calm down, taper off, to relax. And so they had done. So had we had a sexual relationship at the height of our meeting each other and our height of our attraction or nerves or adrenaline and dopamine and all of that, what our level of attraction would have been for each other and intensity of sexual experience, I have no idea. It went, it was gone, it was over with. There was nothing I could do about it at that point. So then it becomes a point of shame. Then we begin to have fights about it because I want him to be romantic and try and sort of like seduce me, I guess. And he feels undesired because I've been so scared and insecure about sex and not really pursuing it or suggesting it ever. And so everything becomes messy and unpleasant, and sex becomes a point of shame and a point of sadness in our relationship, and we stop even like making out and doing the mutual gratification stuff we were doing. It devolves into no longer being something that we can enjoy with each other. And then I start talking about going to counseling or for therapy. And he doesn't want to because he's like, that's super embarrassing. You know, we've been together for like many years now. At this point, let's say I'm 21. I was unfair. I was putting it more off on him. Like, you should be the man and you should like make me want to have sex. And he's like, so I start blaming him. He starts blaming me. We start devolving in the kind of coupleship that we should be. And eventually, I kind of say, it's not fair because we're never going to have the kind of romance that you see on television or anything like that. I feel like that time has passed for us. It doesn't seem like that healthy sexual experience is going to be possible for us. It just feels like that has passed for us and that is over, and that there's not really anything that we can do about that. And the relationship was really, really good. And of course it took me years of having other failed and less successful relationships to realize how brilliantly well we got it the first time. We got along so well on a personal level. But the sexual stuff was just a mess. And it all stemmed from viewing sex as this thing that was bad and naughty and I wasn't supposed to have. And eventually, and sadly, we split up because of it. So I got married and divorced a virgin. And that's really, really sad. I am so amazed at him being, you know, we should always be understanding to each other, but it's pretty hard to be understanding about extreme things like that. And I think it's something that not many people talk about. And it also influenced me to get involved in a relationship with someone that was much more sexually aggressive, which led to a very bad situation and a very bad relationship. So it wasn't, my issues with sex caused me to have let a very successful relationship go and bring in a relationship that eventually failed and was a disaster and very destructive. So whilst abstinent teaching may help some people, somebody like Sarah Ray Vargas, who is an adult, who's already explored her options, who has already had a sexual experience in her life and has realized that, oh, maybe she attaches in different ways and that these things are not so good for her and not healthy for her. Whilst her religious beliefs and her abstinence teaching may be good for her now that she's an adult and can make those decisions, I think it is, if we're going to teach abstinence, if we're going to teach these religious values for children, that we also teach how wonderful sex is and how great a thing it is, and so that people can transition more easily into that and not feel like, you know, oh my God, you know, I'm a failure if I end up messing up and having sex. God will never view me as highly again. I am a waste of space. I am, you know, it's so, people will so badly want kids to adhere to these rules that they make it so scary to go outside of those rules that, you know, they don't realize that you have a whole lifetime of dealing with that left to go. It's not, and my healthy view on sex has taken a very long time to cultivate, and I'm still not perfect with it. It's one of those things where I can close up and not want sex for a very long time, or I am crazy wanting sex all the time when I'm with someone in a relationship. They don't know how to take that. They're like, what the hell is wrong with you? You know, they have no idea what's going on. You know, they're very patient and understanding. John is, and other people have been. It's never really, I'm much more open, and how I view sex is much more open, and how I feel that, you know, other people's sex lives and accepting kinks and other sexualities, you know, because of course when you're raised in that way, you know, you're taught that certain things are wrong, and I no longer believe that, and I think that people can love or be with another consenting adult as in any way they want. So it's taken me a long time to get here. I am still working on it, and so that's why I don't suggest abstinence as a way to bring up your children, at least not an abstinence only teaching. You know, it would be like, well, it would be good if you could stay a virgin until you are ready. Don't let anyone pressure you, but don't feel like you are giving up something that is a one-time deal, because your body is always precious. Your consent is always required. It is always a serious issue, and it doesn't matter if you are not a piece of chewing gum that has hair and paper and junk stuck to it just because you have sex with someone. That is not a good way to look at your body. It is okay if abstinence as an adult for you is something that you feel like helps you be more emotionally stable, put your thoughts together, fall in love better, form a bond better, whatever, if that's what works for you. For other people, it doesn't work. For other people, it causes harm. For other people, it sets you back and messes up the way you feel about and view sex. And for me, I am one of those people that it messed me up. And I'm still working on it, you know, I'm still messed up. I can't deny that I'm not still messed up by it. You know, people deal with feeling like failures in life, feeling like a failure if they've had divorces. I've had two. Feeling like a failure in those situations sexually or like something. There's nothing to be ashamed about. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. It happens. It happens more than people talk about. It happens way more than people talk about because oh yeah, I have a great sex life. Sex at least once a week. All the time, every day, getting laid, all the time, every day, sex every day. Like everybody's talking a big game, but few are living it. Very few are living this big game that they talk. So I feel like we should always be more open and honest about these situations because they're happening more regularly. And I know personally of a couple that got married and never had sex and got divorced before they had consummated their relationship. She had a lot of health issues. He had a lot of sexual history as far as abuse, and they just didn't pressure each other, and it just never happened, and they got divorced having never had sex. That was in my very small group of online friends, so I know it happens more than people talk about. And the reason for that is because of the intense abstinence only teaching that I had. I wasn't taught that there was an alternative. It's like, okay, this is what works for a lot of people, but if it's not working for you, if you feel like this is too stringent, if you feel like this doesn't fit how you feel, or if you know, that don't worry, you are not a piece of garbage if you sleep with someone. Don't worry, you are still valuable. Don't worry, you know. If that would have come across more, maybe it would have felt easier to transition from not having sex, can't have sex, to having sex. Maybe that would have been a thing, but it wasn't. And so I would just say be very careful about the harm that you could do to young people. And I only wanted to make this video. I know I'm super tiny channel and like hardly anyone will see it, but if you do find it, if you have had this situation in your life where you had a long-term relationship and you broke up being abstinent because you had issues with sex, you were taught abstinence only education, and it affected you deeply. If you're a young person and you're thinking, I'm in this situation and I've slept with someone and now I feel ashamed, don't feel ashamed. Don't feel ashamed. Your body is still precious and you are still precious. It doesn't matter if you slept with someone, you are still precious. You're still a gift. You are still a gift. You still have to choose what you give to someone, and your body is still just as precious and as much of a gift as it always was before you did that. So don't feel ashamed. And if you believe in abstinence teaching, I am not disagreeing with you. I am saying that not one size fits all in this instance. It doesn't work for every single human being. If for you it's working, like it's working for Sarah Ray Vargas, I am very, very happy for you, and I am not disputing it working for you whatsoever. I'm just saying that for me in my life, it did not work in a healthy way, and I just want to be here as that alternative for anybody that feels like, oh, well, now this person that I really look up to is doing this thing, so I'm not doing that. Oh, I'm dirty. I'm not worthy. I'm not as good as her. I'm not whatever. That's her path. That's her journey. And she's not a virgin. She's just practicing abstinence. So she's had her sexual experiences and she's decided she wants to abstain. That's absolutely her right, and that's what she wants to do. It's different if you're a young person and you've never had sex before and you're feeling insecure about your body and you're feeling like sex is dirty or a bad thing, or like if you sleep with this boy that you're really in love with, you're 18 and you have a job and education and contraceptives and all this, that you feel guilt. That you feel guilt about sex. I felt guilt about wanting to have sex for so long. I felt so much guilt, and there is no shame in your game boys or girls. I'm talking more to girls right now because there's more emphasis put on girls being abstinent, but there is no shame in your game. If you are a girl or a boy and you are sorted out and you're doing the right thing and you're using protection or contraceptives, preferably both, and you are sexually active, you are not any worse than these people that you look up to that are not doing those things. That is just their journey, that is their story, that is their life, and they are living it for themselves and for the best life for them, and that's fine. But your story is different, and how boring would stories be? How boring would books be? How boring would movies be? How boring would life be if every single story was the same? If every single person's life journey was the same, we would be so bored. So don't believe that your life has to be the same as these other people. It makes no sense that your life would be the same. So it's okay if your life is different, if your beliefs are different, and your living style is different, and your sexual journey is different than other people. So mine has been very, very different, and I'm proud of it. Whatever. You know, I'm here now, and I'm open about it. I can talk about masturbation and erections and stuff like that on the internet and openly. So I feel quite pleased with my progress. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this has made a difference to anybody struggling with these things right now. And also much love to Sarah Ray Vargas and anybody else going on different sexual journeys or experiences. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Just for me and other people, it is not the right way to go. So remember that. All right. Okay. Take care, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.